And the number one action figure line to rip off G.I. Joe wasn't even released in the US. This is from the UK toy company Powell Toy. You know, famous for making the Star Wars figures over there instead of Kenner. Well, what did they have to rip off G.I. Joe? Action Man, Action Force. Oh, God, these were the closest G.I. Joe wannabes I've ever seen. Well, let's take a look at just who had to correct the Junkman. Welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's me, the Junkman, coming back at you with a fun video. I guess might be fun. We'll see. Yesterday's video, I talked about the 10 rip-off toys of G.I. Joe, and number one was one by Powell Toys. And in that video, I talked about how Powell Toys released the Star Wars figures over there, and over here they were in Kenner. I thought that was going to be kind of a hint that number one was more of a joke than to take seriously. But in true internet fashion, people had to go in the comment section to tell the Junkman he was wrong. Number one's not a rip-off of G.I. Joe. Number one is G.I. Joe, just under a different name. It's their version of G.I. Joe in the UK. Anyone that watches this channel, one knows I like to troll you guys, especially during top 10 lists. And anyone that knows anything about my channel knows I know about toys. There's no way I grew up collecting toys and playing with toys and running a YouTube channel and not know that kind of Powell Toys is like their version of G.I. Joe. It's not really a ripoff. But some of you fall for it. And I can always tell. The ones that usually fall for it are the new viewers, so I understand. But then I see some that comment on my videos for a couple of years, and I was like, come on, dude, how long have you been watching this channel? So I thought it'd be kind of fun to do that video and then do a video reading the comments to see. So far, no one was really rude or anything, but I thought it could be kind of fun. So let's take a look at the comment section. Here we go. I got them listed by the order they've been coming in. It was 35 minutes ago. I'm not going to read all the comments, just the one has to tell me about G.I. Joe and how it's not a ripoff. Let's see, this one's about Remco, so we'll skip that one. This guy wants to know why Corpse is not on the list. Well, if you know the figure line, mostly it's not going to be on the top 10 list. It's mostly more than just a wreck. It's not really a rip-off G.I. Joe list. It's more of a list. Here are some other Army figures that you probably didn't know they made. That's usually how those top 10 lists, not really, top 10s. Okay, here we go. No Man 036, right? Action Man and Action Force is now G.I. Joe. They were first their own line connected to Kenner, then a Joe team in another country, and now G.I. Joe. Okay, that was kind of good. I wasn't rude about it or nothing. Just give me some more facts, and I think there's some facts there I didn't know. Let's see here. Oh, wait a second. Is that a pop at a particular Action Man fan? I don't know who is an Action Man fan. Does anyone like Action Man? Let's see here. As an Action Man was G.I. Joe, but when 3 3/4 inches became the standard, Powell Toy released the most popular 12 and 12-inch figures in a smaller scale. Action Force was released at the perfect time in my childhood, and it was easily my favorite toy line. SSAS Force, Z Force, Space Force, Q Force. Ooh, that's a lot of force. That's more force than the Yoda got. Versus Baron and the Red Shadow Epic line. Again, somebody just pointed out it's not really there. I mean, some of them was a little bit more kind of like, hey, you didn't know that? Here's Scott. Action Force was officially licensed from Hasbro. Used the same mold and everything. So it really wasn't a ripoff. Film for it. Here's another one right under it. Action Force pretends G.I. Joe, I believe, and it's actually the UK G.I. Joe line. You don't say. I learn something new every day. Okay, that's another one about Corpse. Dude, no offense, but you should probably do your homework before this video. Now, I don't know. He didn't say what, but I think he was talking about the number one position of Action Man, Action Force. Let's see. I replied back and said, I did. But I'm guessing you are one of the new watchers. I think you hadn't seen his name before, and he must be. And then I said, see you at noon, because that's when this video would be up. It's noon, so maybe he's watching this video, or maybe he was so offended by my number one, he's never coming back and never know about this. Was looking to see how many people said Action Force and Action Man are G.I. Joe. Lol. They should know you, but now jump me. Thank you, Nerdcraft, thank you. Someone that gets me. He knows, and I'll reply back to him and say, what did I say? I don't even remember replying back to him. You can tell the ones that are always watch and the new guys. You sure can most of the time. Okay, let's see if there's any more here. Action Man is actually better than the originals they pitched. Jim Crack. Now, that's not really correcting me, but I just wanted to read it. Zan's a good guy. Comes here a lot. I love to see familiar faces in the chat or comment section. I always thought Action Man was the UK version of G.I. Joe and not a ripoff. Jonathan, you're right. Yeah, it's technically kind of what it is. Custom God said Action Man was actually a G.I. Joe line released in the UK. What? Okay, sorry. Steve says, now you understand is 50% of the conflict, Action Man. I don't know what that means, really. Let's see if there's any more. There's got to be more. Oh, being from the UK, seeing as G.I. Joe was US, it needed a generic name. I had the rapid-firing motorcycle Scarlet repainted green and black as NyQuil. Okay, not really. Just some of them was a little more friendly about it than others. I think Action Man was just a British version of G.I. Joe. I'm pretty sure that's where the same figures, just different names. Says James. Thank you, James. James Stewart. Thought he was dead. Sorry, Junkman, but I'll have to inform you on this one. Paltoy in the UK had a business relationship with Hasbro and Kenner, as did Tarka in Japan. It was mainly a distributor rights throughout Europe and Japan. The original design of the basic G.I. Joe figures was sold to Paltoys in the UK and Tarka, however you say it, in Japan. I got a shirt that says that on. You want to buy it at junkmanmerch.com. They were adopted at the local test, so the basic figures of Japan and World War II was given a sci-fi twist. Okay, this one goes on pretty long, as you can see here, so I'm not going to go. I did reply. He got into a section with another guy, and I replied, you must be new around these parts. And he wrote back, said, hell would freeze over before I'm found anywhere near your parts, Junkman. I like that one. I like that one right there. Okay. Farm boys could be heroes. What? Paul says Action Force is to G.I. Joe as Transformers is to Microman. They're essentially the same, but for a different toy market. Okay, Chris. He even timestamped this one, 420. He's going to make sure I know what he's talking about here. Action Force was the UK version of G.I. Joe. They started off with comics with a different storyline and different bad guy before US came with Cobra as the bad guy. Now this one gets fun here because I replied to this guy here and then he replied back to me. Okay, then he replied to his own reply that Action Man was called the cause as a 12-inch Barbie Ken doll figure, had more outfits, I ain't going there. Then I replied to him and just said, fake news, they came with magazines, not comics. Clearly, I said, that's clearly a Joe. He's going to get that. I know no action figures come with the magazines. And he replied, half true. The Action Force and Transformer comics, just like Star Wars, were all called magazines. And then he replied again, I have a bunch of import Action Forces, Transformers, and Star Wars magazines. They're all comics, just magazine by name. I don't even know what he's talking about. Then I replied, if it's made out of metal, it's not a comic, dude. I can't wait to see what the reply is. I wish I had a reply for this video, but I don't, so we'll look for that. And then here's one from Three Storms, who was in the live stream this past weekend, so I know he watches my channel. Action Force becomes G.I. Joe of Britain and even uses Hasbro mold. You should see the British dubbed G.I. Joe cartoon. It goes on and on and on. Again, same old thing. And I replied to him and said, what did I say to him? Oh, I said, come on, dude. You ain't new around here. Let's see. And then we got Action Force, Action Man. I love Paltoys. That didn't really help me any right there. And we've got, okay, that looks like all of them, I guess, 9 hours ago. So that's probably about right. Well, that was a lot of fun right there. Again, it was a little fun. I knew when I put it out there, people was going to correct me. But I thought most of you get the joke, especially that I mentioned how Kenner and Paltoys worked together with Star Wars. But I knew some of the people just click the video, probably don't know the channel, would see and go, Action Man, what's going on here? But a lot of fun. You never know when the Junkman's going to get you, especially if it's one of the top 10 videos or 10 things videos. Always fun to throw one in there. In fact, a while back I did a whole video of the top 10 game shows I liked as a kid, made up all 10, and you won't believe it, almost everybody commented how, oh, I remember watching that one, or I don't remember that show. Everyone was made up, all 10 of them. So, man, when you click on the Junkman, you never know what you're gonna get. Well, thank you for watching, and thank you all for commenting. Now, I'm probably going to get people commenting just to comment to see if I talk about them in the next video. Like when I do my reading angry comments, I can tell the ones that are just angry, just hoping I'll read them in a video. Anyway, I got to go, guys. We will be back tonight at 10. And don't forget, 3 videos a day now. We got noon, 5 o'clock shorty, and 8 o'clock for the regular video. Thank you for watching. I'll be back at 8.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.